China's increasing its military budget by more than 10% to better safeguard its sovereignty. The rise emphasizes the country's intention to prioritize its military spending, even as its economic growth slows. Well, we spoke to Abraham Denmark, Senior Vice President for Security Affairs at the National Bureau of Asian Research in Washington.
China's leaders believe that it requires this kind of investment in its military capabilities, which is a bit confusing for us outside of China, because if you look at those around China, look at Russia, Japan, Vietnam, their military spending is much, much lower than what China spends on its military. So you have to believe that it sees the need to invest in these sorts of military capabilities, and the only possible target for such a large expenditure is the United States. A lot of this is uncertain. China is not terribly transparent when it comes to its defense spending. In fact, most outside observers believe that even the number that China's state institutions announce for its defense budget are wrong, or at least inaccurate, in that it does not include several areas of expenditure. And many outside observers, including the U.S. Defense Department, see China spending much, much more than they announced. So even the top line is opaque. And our best guess, though, is that China is increasing its investments in power projection capabilities. This means sea power, long-range conventional ballistic and cruise missiles, advanced air power, and the kinds of systems, C4ISR systems, that are required to integrate and utilize these new capabilities. Clearly, cyber warfare is important to China's military, the People's Liberation Army, or the PLA. The PLA writes about the importance of cyber. They talk about it as an important aspect of warfare, an important new battlefield in warfare, but exactly what kinds of resources are allocated to that capability is very, very unclear. Defense spending is really, all it does is allows you to invest in more military capabilities. It has absolutely nothing to say about how you use them. So if you look at recent capabilities that China has been able to field, like an aircraft carrier, advanced surface and subsurface combatants, advanced fighter aircraft. These are sorts of capabilities that can be utilized to project Chinese power further from the Chinese coastline. Now, whether or not that is used to confront China's neighbors, to assert China's claims in the South China Sea or the East China Sea, is really up to Beijing. The capabilities themselves are agnostic as to how they're used. It's really up to the people leading China about how these new capabilities are being utilized.